I remember when I was about 16, I first watched the movie Wall Street, and at that time that was exactly what I wanted to do when I was older. I wanted to be like Gordon Gekko, the king of Wall Street, because it seemed like there was a lot to like about that sort of lifestyle, the excitement, the parties, the boats, the beach houses. I mean, what's not to like about that? Very soon after that, I guess it all changed, because I moved to India after I left school, and I arrived in India as a young, naive 18-year-old, and immediately I was struck with this disparity between rich and poor in India, and between the so-called haves and the have-nots, and it really stuck with me, because I hated seeing people's futures determined by the environment that they grow up in. You know, we talk a lot about poverty of wealth, and obviously that's prevalent in India, but it's the poverty of opportunity that really struck me. These children growing up in slum areas that have no direction in their lives, they lack a pathway, and before long they get trapped in this vicious cycle of poverty. And two things stuck out for me. One is that education didn't seem like much of a priority, mainly because the children were working with their fathers to help earn a greater income. And the second one is kids weren't motivated to learn, because there wasn't much exciting about going to a classroom with 80 kids and a small blackboard at the front of the room. The second thing that stood out for me was that everyone loved cricket. It was like a religion. And so immediately I had an idea that we could combine these two factors and create some form of social change. I met a local taxi driver in Mumbai called Lax, and Lax was a 42-year-old guy. He had two young kids and lived in one of South Mumbai's largest slums in Cuff Parade with his wife, kids, his parents and her parents. And I got to know Lax really well, and I started to spend a lot of time with his family. I used to eat with them and have tea with them and go to family weddings with them, and I really understood what life was like for them. And one day Lax pulled me aside and asked me where his kids could get some cricket coaching, and so I named a couple of academies, and he looked at me and just said, "There's no way I can afford that." And that moment stuck with me, and I guess the reason it stuck with me was because I put myself in his shoes and realised that how would I feel as a father if I couldn't provide my kids such a basic opportunity that so many people around the world take for granted. And that really was my moment of obligation, where I realised that I have to do something here to help people like Lax and his kids. So it was there that the idea for the Cricket Live Foundation started. I remember the day I was flying back from India to New Zealand, and I wrote a few ideas down on the back of my boarding pass, and I remember that a vision is exactly that. It's a vision, it's a dream, and value comes from the execution. And so I was in a position where I had to work out how we're going to make this idea work, and I had to very quickly get back on a plane and go to India to try and find some local sponsors and funding to help us get this idea off the ground. I wasn't very lucky in that trip. I was sort of making things up as I went along, and I decided to fly to Sri Lanka. And when I was in Sri Lanka, I met, very fortunately, Meryl Fernando of Dilmarti, and I told him and explained to him what we were trying to do to use sport to develop life skills and education for underprivileged children, and he basically welcomed the idea with open arms. So here we are in Sri Lanka. We've been running for close to 3 years now. We have over 300 of the most incredible children you can imagine in our program. And these children are from tough backgrounds, from marginalised communities, and the one thing that sticks out is that all children need at that age is a reason to smile, a reason to get up in the morning and go to school. Immediately we saw results. We saw attendance rates grow 25% at local schools. We saw academic performance improve drastically in such a short space of time, and we even had one school that was due to be closed down due to lack of numbers been given clearance by the Ministry of Education to stay open as a result of our program. We have 16 coaches working in our program, and they are absolutely fantastic.
වැඩසටහනක්. මේ හැම දිනකටම ගොඩක් ස්තුති කරන්න ඕන මේකට සහයෝගය දෙන්න. ඒ වගේම මට මගේ ලයිෆ් එකේ හැමදාම මම දෙන්න පුළුවන් සහයෝගය මේ වැඩසටහනට දෙනවා.
They are role models and pillars for our children, and I guess for a lot of the kids who don't have anything constant in their lives, they may not have parents, they may not have guardians. One thing they can count on is that they turn up every day and are in the care of our amazing coaches who are parental figures and role models, and their job not only to coach cricket but to inspire and motivate these kids to become future community leaders and business men and women. So it's extremely exciting to see that. The future for the Cricket Life Foundation is exciting. We're looking at expanding into India very soon, and I guess if we look down the track, what I would absolutely love is to be able to develop our model so that we can use any sport anywhere around the world, whether it be football in South America or basketball in the Caribbean. I want to use the power of sport to enrich the lives of underprivileged kids all around the world and provide them with opportunities and life-changing opportunities that a lot of us take for granted.